Right now, Iran is in one of its biggest protest waves in years. What began as anger over money and survival has quickly turned into a broader challenge to the government itself. Since the protests started on December 28, 2025, they have spread across many cities, and the state has responded with a hard crackdown and a sweeping internet shutdown to slow organizing and hide what's happening from the outside world. To understand why this is happening, start with the simplest truth. In Iran, daily life has become financially unstable. The currency has been sliding fast, and when a country's money loses value, everything gets more expensive at the same time. A Reuters report this week described the rial's crash as severe enough to spill into the region, hurting even neighboring businesses that depend on Iranian visitors. Reuters also noted the rial lost nearly half its value in 2025 and cited official inflation around 42.5%. Now put that into normal life terms. When your currency collapses, your paycheck becomes smaller every week even if your salary number stays the same. Prices rise, savings get wiped out, and people stop trusting that tomorrow will be stable. In early January, some outlets tracking Iran's unofficial market quoted the dollar at about 1.47 million rials, a level that signals panic and loss of confidence. By January 15th, market trackers still showed the dollar around that range. But this protest wave is not only about high prices. It also has a strong "this system is rigged" feeling, and one major event added fuel to that belief: the collapse of Ayandeh Bank. In late October 2025, Ayandeh, one of Iran's large private lenders, was dissolved in a state takeover after years of bad debts and weak oversight. Major reporting linked the bank's troubles to huge, risky lending and to politically connected projects, turning it into a national symbol of elite corruption and ordinary people paying the bill. Here is why that matters. Bank failures don't stay inside banks. When a big bank collapses in an already fragile economy, people fear they will lose deposits, businesses fear they can't get credit, and everyone expects the government to cover losses one way or another. That usually means more strain on the public budget and more pressure on inflation. Even if the state promises depositors they are safe, the public message is still loud. Insiders got rich, the system broke, and regular citizens are stuck with the damage. So by late December, Iran had an economy that felt like it was coming apart, and a public mood that felt like the country was being looted. That is the kind of mix that produces protest quickly, and it also explains why economic protests in Iran often turn political fast. When people believe inflation is not just bad luck, but the result of corruption, mismanagement, and protected elites, they stop asking for small fixes and start questioning who should be in charge. There is also an outside pressure layer that makes everything harder to stabilize. On September 29, 2025, the EU Council announced the reimposition of restrictive measures against Iran through a snapback process tied to the nuclear file. Whatever you think of sanctions as a tool, the practical effect is that trade gets harder, money flows get tighter, and Iran has fewer ways to bring in hard currency to calm markets. That kind of squeeze does not create every internal problem, but it does make an already weak economy more fragile. Now look at the government response. Iran's leaders are treating this as a security threat, not as a public complaint. Reports describe widespread arrests, lethal force, and signals from the judiciary about rapid prosecutions. Outside groups and journalists say the crackdown has been severe, with death toll estimates varying and difficult to verify because of the blackout. And that brings us to the internet shutdown, which is one of the most important parts of this story. Iran has cut connectivity on a large scale, limiting the public's ability to communicate, organize, and show evidence to the outside world. The Financial Times described the blackout as unusually extensive and sophisticated, with even some internal services disrupted at first before being restored. This is not just a technical move, it is a control strategy. But people are finding ways around it. Activists and diaspora networks have pushed alternatives, and Starlink has become a major talking point because terminals can provide internet that does not depend on Iran's local providers. The AP reported that Starlink access being made free for Iran was seen as a game changer for demonstrators trying to get their message out during blackouts, even though the devices are illegal and risky to use inside the country. So where does this go next? There are three things that will tell you whether this wave burns out or keeps growing. First is momentum. Can protesters keep showing up despite fear, arrests, and the blackout? Second is the state's next step. Does it try limited concessions, or does it double down with harsher punishment and faster trials? Third is the economy. Does the rial stabilize and prices cool down, or does the currency keep sliding and force more people into the streets? That's the heart of it. Iran is not just having another protest, it's facing a stacked crisis, a collapsing currency, deep public anger at corruption, tighter outside pressure, and a state response built on force and information control. And when all of those hit at once, a country can change direction fast. Thank you for watching, and if this helped, hit like and subscribe. Ultra Simplified breaks down the biggest world events as concise as possible with the context that actually matters.